basically extradited 3 African men.
Yeah, 3 Nigerians. Yeah.
Yep, from Africa to the United States because a kid killed himself after they were sex-torting him.
Anyway, thank you for coming, sir. I appreciate
Very
you.
nice. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Little dark. We were both talking about what the topic of the day is, which is sex-tortion. And I really want to lead off with a story. Kid from Michigan gets extorted by 3 individuals that are adult males with nude photos. Okay. And I think a lot of people have been hearing really upsetting stories about this, where a young male, generally in his teens, gets lured, essentially catfished or lured into sending nude photos of himself, or somebody says they have nude photos of him. And the ask is, or the demand is, hey, I have these exposing photos of you. Give me something. Give me money, give me Amazon gift cards, whatever it is, or I'm going to show this to everybody you know, right? It could be an Instagram following. It could be family. It could be anything. No matter what you do, no matter how much you give the people, right? If $100 Amazon gift card, well, next week it's another $100 Amazon gift card. So no matter what, eventually the individual comes to the end of his resources and is too mortified and upset to tell those that could actually help him, and ends up taking his life. How does that happen? Like, how do we get there?
So, and you brought up boys. I mean, it happens to girls as well. But right now it's happening to boys in much larger numbers than it is happening to girls, this extortion. Part of why we're getting to there is because parents are not having the appropriate conversations with kids. Kids are not going to church as much. Kids are not having their self-value as much, so they're looking for all these things online. And online, we have lots of predators. And there's a couple different types of predators. Number one, you have predators in your own schools, in your own communities. But number two, you have criminal organizations that are going after kids, right? You mentioned the African one, where they basically extradited 3 African men.
Yeah, 3 Nigerians. Yeah.
Yep, from Africa to the United States because a kid killed himself after they were sex-torting him, right? So these guys are basically in a big building with rows and rows of computers, and they are just targeting kids to get money. Not only kids, they're targeting adults as well, because the same scam they use for kids works very well on adults. I know because I've taken a lot of reports on it. So how did we get there? There's lots of things that got us there, but how easy is it for them to do a sextortion scam on somebody? It's super easy, and it's highly successful and very little risk to the people doing this extortion, right? With the African guys, they killed somebody. So we went after them. We wanted to make an example, which I'm totally fine about making examples. However, from taking many reports, rarely do these guys get credit for their sextortion schemes. Even when I know who they are, I know where they're at, they still don't get credit for it.
Right. And if you think about the resources involved to extradite 3 people from Nigeria to bring them to justice in the United States, like that's an unbelievable amount of resources. The departments that are involved, everything has to go just right to find those 3 people and bring them back here. I have to assume the same resources are not provided for every single case of sextortion.
They are not. And there's, even just here in Idaho, there's hundreds of sextortion cases daily, right? I mean, if we chose to make this our battle, it would take every bit of every law enforcement agency we have, right? So we kind of, take the reports. If we can find them, fine. If not, fine. A lot of officers don't even know how to find them. They're not hard to find. You just have to go through the paperwork, which could take months to get. You have to get a subpoena for the IP address. You have to get a subpoena for whoever owns that IP address to give you the information of who has it. Now you don't know where it's at. Let's say it's Pennsylvania. Let's say it's Colorado. Then I call Colorado and I say, hey, look, I have this here. Okay, are we going to charge him in Colorado? Or are we going to charge him in Idaho? Am I going to fly there and bring him back? Am I going to fly there and go to court? Right? And so I could spend literally every day flying everywhere trying to charge these people. Instead, I'm here trying to prevent other people from getting in the same thing, because even in a small school, a lot of my kids have already fallen for some type of sextortion scheme.
So bottom line is, attempting to use prosecution as an effective deterrent to stop people from acting in this way, to stop people attempting to sextort people is not viable because of the geographic displacement a lot of times between the actual victim and the perpetrator, the nuances and difficulty of going through and actually getting enough evidence to prove that it was somebody and find that person, all of this stuff. It seems that overwhelmingly the answer is, okay, we have to start educating kids so they can be their number one protectors in these situations, right? Because if you wait until, something else is involved, or like you find somebody in Colorado and here we are in Idaho and then you prosecute them, that's too much. So most people, and myself included, would like to believe that this would not happen to their kids. And a quick example, speaking with a very good friend the other day, I was really worked up about school computers over something. And I said, look, I feel like we're just giving entry points to predators and perpetrators that are unnecessary. And she advocated for what you were saying. She said, maybe, okay. She wasn't sold that computers are good or bad. She's like, maybe, but listen, you have to talk to your kids. She related an instance where her son got a hold of her, and they're a very tight family and very religious. And her son got a hold of her and said, Mom, I'm in trouble. I need your help. She said, okay, slow down, talk to me. There's going to be no judgment here. Just tell me what's happening. And he said, look, somebody has gotten a hold of me on Instagram, said they have nude photos of me, that they're going to send them out. This happens to be, I think he's a 14-year-old boy. They're going to send them out to everyone if I don't give them money. She said, okay, listen to me. You have to be honest. Are there nude photos of you? He said, absolutely not. She said, okay, what did you do? He reported it. He blocked the person. He may have let somebody at the school know as well. And then he was reaching out to his mom like, help, I need help. I don't know what to do. And it was taken care of. It was a total bluff. But she was like, he handled it. Well, I would like to know your appraisal of how he handled it, but she was happy with him. They're like, look, the number one thing is he came to me and we worked it out together. But if there is that situation where somebody gets that, it's, in this case, it had nothing to do with any of the kids' activities, right? I want to believe my son would never be caught in this situation because I'm like, well, I can somehow convince my son to never send photos of himself. That may be true, but that's irrelevant. Right? People have the fear that something will happen. AI can create photos of people, which is a horrible thing. Talk me through how frequent it is or how common it is for people to do this versus what parents like me. I'm like, oh, my son would never do that. How common is it actually for young men and women to get caught in these things?
I would say 100% of kids with cell phones are going to have the sextortion schemes run by them, boys and girls. Boys are going to be hit by it monthly. Girls, couple times a year, somebody's going to try a sextortion scheme on them. And what parents don't quite realize is the lure that these predators use on the kids is almost impossible for kids to refuse. Right? And in the case you were talking about with the kid that went to his mom, awesome, right? The only thing he could have done better is not talk to strangers. And that when I'm talking to parents, they give their kids phones, I'm like, how many adult strangers do you allow to talk to your kids? Right? And they have to, I'm never going to let them talk to, yes, you are. If they're talking on any kind of app, they're going to be talking to adult strangers. Right? And adult strangers know things that your kids don't know, right? They know things. They know how to lure them. They have this network of information going out. Hey, you want to get naked pictures of a 13-year-old girl? Here's how you do it. You want to get them of a 13-year-old boy? Here's how you do it. You want to sex-tort a 25-year-old man? Here's how you do it. Right? And I've taken reports after reports after reports on all of these. And I mean, it's the same each time, but even kids that I have trained myself and I've said, hey, look, you're getting a phone. This is what's going to happen. I walk them through step by step. Let's tell you how a sextortion scheme works. And then when it happens to them, they do come to me because we've already talked to them. They're like, Gomez, I thought she was real.
Gomez, I thought she was real.
Right? And I'm like, we talked about this. He goes, I know, Gomez, but it's different than what you think. And it's not only that. Yesterday, we had a box van hit a deer up in Idaho City. And he says, we talk about it. And he's not from Idaho City, so they're not used to seeing deer. But he said, my boss talked to me about it. I talked to myself about it. I imagine the deer's going to come out on the road. And he says, my boss says, put it right between the headlights and hit it smack on. And he goes, when I was faced with the deer, I went off the road and hit the tree. No. Right? So super upset with himself. Same thing happens, right? With kids. You tell them about it. You got to tell them about it over and over and over and over again, because picture a 13-year-old boy, been online for whatever, been talking to some strangers, whatever, gets contacted by some 13-year-old, 15-year-old looking hottie girl. How many boys are going to say stranger danger to a private conversation with a 15-year-old hottie girl? 0. Right? And so they know this. So now hottie girl starts talking to him a little bit. Right away, she's going to say, hey, look, you're not like everybody else. You're super nice. They always try and get some kind of emotional link. Hey, my mom died last week, or my dog ran away. They always try and get an emotional link with them. Then pretty soon she said, hey, look, you're super special. I can't believe that I found you. I'm going to send you a topless picture, and I want you to send me one back. And she sends him a topless picture. How many boys are going to be able to resist that? Almost none. How many adult men are going to be able to resist that? Almost none. Right? That's the one on Facebook that happens. Random male accepts some hottie girl that's in college, and this college girl says, hey, as my part of my communications degree, I need to talk to 15 people every week, and, for 15 minutes, will you sign off? Sure. They talk about whatever, and then she says, I can't thank you with money because I'm a poor college student, but here's this. And she sends a topless picture of herself online. Hey, if you want to see more, just, send me a topless picture. I really like you. Now we start the sextortion. But how many kids in the 13 to 20 range, if they get contacted by a hottie girl, are going to say stranger danger? And how many are going to be able to resist the naked picture, even when they know the story because I've told them?
Right. And the source of naked pictures, or one thing I heard about is actually that you go a step further. So say I'm like, no. I tell my kid, if anybody sends you an inappropriate picture, let me know right away. We'll talk about it. Okay. It's great. I'm trying to educate my boys. I have 3 boys. I'm like, this is what we're going to do. If anybody sends you something like that, right away, flags should go off because this is a bad person, because good people don't just start sending naked photos. But there are layers to this, right? So it's my understanding that there are, for instance, OnlyFans models that send life like style photos, or have lifestyle photo libraries where it's like, oh, there's me at the store, there's me at a birthday party or whatever. Oh, here's also a naked picture. So the conversation and picture exchange doesn't start with, here's a topless photo. It's like, oh, it was my birthday, and like, here were me and my friends, and oh, I had to go to the store with my mom the other day. Here's me in front of the soup aisle or something. So you have these seemingly innocuous photos that set up a storyline that this is a real live person going through real life things. Like, I'm correct in that these things exist, correct?
Yes, and they will set up Instagram accounts with, that look totally real. Right. And basically they've just stolen somebody's identity. And it can be a whole farm full of dudes in some warehouse in a different country. It could be, 3 or 4 people in a house in Colorado. But they basically have all the information to back it up. Hey, look, here's a couple of videos, here's a couple of pictures of their normal life. Right. And the other thing that you have to understand is you don't even need to go to a real person anymore. Like, for instance, recently I set up a website for business, and I was moving pretty fast, just trying to get like a blueprint out. And I just went on to Midjourney, which is an AI program. And I was like, imagine X, Y, and Z. That's the command. You have to say, imagine blah, blah, blah. You could imagine a 15-year-old girl at a birthday party. You could imagine the same 15-year-old girl at a soup aisle. You could imagine the same 15-year-old girl doing whatever, and then take that girl that has been imagined in this one program and import her into another program and say, imagine this girl topless, right? However you want to do it. And so now you have the same stock of photos, right? You have the lifestyle photos, birthday, soup aisle, whatever it is, and then you have the pornographic photos. They look amazing. They look ridiculous. And you can imagine them as a selfie from a cell phone. You can imagine them as a photorealistic from a DSLR camera. Like, you can imagine them however you want. And again, you don't even need to go to OnlyFans. This can be done in like 20 minutes off of just basic free programs. Yeah, it can be. But in taking these reports, it's not even necessary.
I'm overthinking it.
Yeah, because, the reality is, if they send one face picture, or they have a cute profile picture, and the girl sends a topless picture and asks for one back, boys at that age, their real brain kicks out and their other brain kicks in.
Okay. So
it doesn't even require anything. It's that easy.
Okay. So 100% of males are going to be prodded with this, which means you feel like 100% of teen males or males in general. You know, I get text all the time. Hi, Susan, I'll see you at the store. And of course, the first couple times it was like, oh no, you have the wrong number. Oh shoot, I was trying to get a. Thanks, I really appreciate. Yeah, no problem. You're really nice. You know, they start going into it, and like it. So since like. You go through a phase where you get annoyed by it, and then you're like, well, I'll have, hey, Susan, I'll see you at the airport. Yeah, sure, I'll pick you up then, whatever. Like, you just respond ridiculous things because you're like, you're not even a human being. Like, you're not looking for Susan. You're not flying in. You're not actually interested in these. Like, I've become a little jaded with like all the ridiculous WhatsApp texts and things. Anyway, so let's take it back. So 100% of young boys will be at least attempted to be lured into these scams. Just point blank, anybody with a point of contact is going to be tried to sucked into this.
Absolutely.
What's the first thing that should happen when that happens? Like, say I'm a 14-year-old boy and you're like, hey, look, Matt, if this happens, you do 1, 2, and 3.
Well, pro level, block, delete, move on with your life.
Okay.
Right? They should know, just like you know, when that text comes in, and I know when that text comes in from Susan, I know the first 3 letters, this is a scam already.
Right.
That's what 13, 14-year-old boys should be as well. Hey, this is part of social media life. You're going to get these scams.
Block, delete, move on.
Block, delete, move on. Because, I mean, if you do it more than that, then it's too much work on your part. I mean, it's basically like locking your car doors. You lock your car doors at night. Do you need to put a security camera? You can. Do you need to, wake up every 3 hours and go check your car doors? No. Do you need to make sure that everybody walking by your car is legit? No, right? Lock your car doors, move on with your life. That's pro level.
Okay. So beyond that, say that you walk down like, well, let me ask you this. What about the parents that say like, well, what if somebody has made an AI generated nude photo of my son? Like, how do we deal with that? Like, if we just block and delete and move on, what if that person does in fact put out that AI generated image onto the internet?
Okay. So Snapchat actually is predator friendly, right? They are going to do everything they can to protect predators, and they do. The people that are going to share, they're usually going to threaten, they're going to share it on Instagram, they're going to share it on Facebook. If they move platforms to share a picture, especially Instagram, Facebook, anything else like that, now they're opening themselves up to me finding them much quicker and much easier and having evidence. As long as they remain on Snapchat, the evidence is not there, right? Because Snapchat protects predators. As soon as they actually share a photo, now they're in trouble because now I'm going to track you down. And I have the evidence.
So there's not a great mechanism on Snapchat to cross-platform, to share the photo like this. So they have to threaten crossing platforms to Instagram or Facebook in order to have any teeth.
Yeah, and usually it's the initial sextortion demand comes on Snapchat.
Okay.
With a 15-second clip of them scrolling through your own Instagram friends.
Oh, so the threat necessitates a cross-platform threat.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
In most cases,
Okay.
right? And now, professional sextortionists are not going to share their picture. They're going to threaten, and they're going to demand, and they're going to, hey, I'm really going to do this. They're going to set timers. I mean, they are going to wreak havoc on that kid's brain. But they're usually not going to share the picture. However, you don't know if they just stepped into this job yesterday. And they're going to say, oh, well, you didn't do it. Well, now I'm going to share these pictures. And so now they share the pictures all over Instagram. They don't know. They've just put a big target on their back because now law enforcement are going, oh, hey, we got a rookie.
Okay.
So if we've shared a naked picture, talk to parents first, police next. The problem is that if we haven't had these conversations, most kids are too embarrassed to talk to their parents about it, especially since most parents are expecting a kid not to send naked pictures.
Okay, so you're saying, hey, look, if you have an innocent kid, whoa, watch out. If you have an innocent kid and he gets an initial threat, block, delete, move on with your life. We go to the next level where it's possible that the kid did send at some point a compromising photo of himself somewhere.
Which right. is, if they come to you, 90% it's going to be real, right? And I can't tell you how many parents have brought a kid. They're sitting in front of me and, well, they didn't send one, but this is the threat. I look at the kid and I don't even say anything. I'm like, really? Oh, I sent a picture.
I'm sorry, Gomez.
Yep. I mean, because somebody else talking to somebody else that knows what's going on.
Sure.
I said, look, I can help you, but I need the truth, right? And 90% of the time, it's good. There are ones that are innocent kids that get sex-tortion, but not very many.
Sure. Okay.
Usually they have sent one because it's so easy for them to send them out.
Okay.
And they've been groomed over a lifetime of having a phone. They've been groomed to send naked pictures out and be worth their body parts. Another thing that's advantageous to predators. So now, when they get sextortion, if you're not a parent who's talked to their kids, which I'll say 90% of the parents have not had a real conversation about sextortion, about sex, about anything with their kids. So now the kid's going to be too embarrassed to go to parents. So they're either going to make a payment. So how do they make a $500 payment? The predators will tell them, hey, go steal your parents' credit card, buy some iTunes cards, tell us the numbers or forward us the emails. And then when your parents challenge you about it, just say you bought V-Bucks for Roblox or whatever, online you bought. They will tell them how to do this. But you get to pro level by having the conversations ahead of time. And this isn't just for sextortion. It's for winding up at a party. It's for winding up at some kind of trouble somewhere where your kids know that you're on their team.
Right.
They only know that if you have the discussions ahead of time. Right. And check the news. Talk about some other news things. Talk about the 3 guys that were just, extradited from Africa. Talk about the kid that killed himself in like Los Angeles. How did we get to that point, right? Have the discussion with your kids. Show them the Susan text that you just got. Hey, look, I just got this. Susan says I didn't make it to the grocery store. Dang. Right? They say, right. If I were to continue, what do you think is going to happen here? And the kids know this. They see it. But again, when it comes to sex in that age range, it is a hard thing to battle, right? I mean, when we were kids, if somebody said, hey, in our tree fort, we got a Playboy magazine. How many boys are not going to look at that Playboy magazine when they go in that treehouse?
Right.
Not very many.
Right.
Not very many. These days, they have it all available. Again, do they have to set? No, they don't have to set up. That is a lure that's biologically built into boys. That is a huge. It's a defect that doesn't allow them to think correctly.
Right. I listened to a wonderful, I think it was an evolutionary biologist conversation years back, and he was talking about supernormal reflexes, and he was apparently somebody had done this incredible study with like seabirds, like seagulls on these cliffs. And you have to be really careful when you're a seagull on a cliff, apparently, because you make your little nest, and if the eggs roll out, it's a huge problem, right? So you have to do everything you can to make sure the eggs don't roll out. And someone figured out, somehow, they're like, I don't think the seagulls are actually thinking about the eggs, like thinking about them like we think about normal. They're not cognizant of their actions. It's a reflex. It's not an intended action. So they started figuring out, they're like, I wonder if we could get them to react without thinking to other things. So they started manipulating eggs and sneaking them into nests and like making them bigger, making them smaller, making them pink, making them brown, putting polka dots on them, all of these different things till they found the number one style of egg that birds will instinctually move to without any thought, like zero thought about it or cognitive ability. They're just like, they have to do it. And the evolutionary biologist was emphasizing it's the same thing with young men in particular, especially around sexual partners. They literally, it's like a short circuit in their head. They are instinctually and reflexively drawn to somebody, indicating that they are willing to have no obligation, intercourse, or sexual exchange with them. They can't, like, all of the reasoning goes out the window and they go straight to lizard brain. And like, it is one of those things that is so deeply hardwired into like a 15 or 16-year-old guy that if somebody indicates that she wants to have sex with him, it's like, it's almost like you're not talking to a human being anymore. I found that very, very interesting. And I started thinking about, people just differently. I mean, obviously we're walking around and I have control of myself. And I think it's very hard, especially dealing with teens for so long and hearing, I was not dealing with this I was dealing with SAT and ACT prep, but recognizing that there was a disconnect between the way parents talk to kids, even about school and things like this. Again, not talking about this stuff with them, but seeing that it's like, you don't remember being a teen, do you? Like, you don't remember being exhausted no matter what you did. Right? I could have slept 9-10 hours when I was a teenager, exhausted all the time. And having the parents very frequently would try to educate their students about ways of dealing with stress. They're like, if I get stressed, I know I got to work out. I got to work out. Like, I got to go take a walk. I got to hit the gym. And if I'm stressed out, I just make a list of things that I have to get done and I start ticking them off. Like, these are dumb things I do, right? Like, I know myself. But just about a month ago, I was speaking with my wife, like, it's not fair because that's what I do having a fully developed frontal lobe, right? That's what I do. Frontal cortex, lobe, some kind of lobe or cortex. These are things that I, as a 41-year-old guy, employ to manage myself with zero fluctuating hormones, with complete control over my environment. I'm not beholden to other adults. I'm not walking around a high school horrified about my English grade with the English teacher that hates me, with this girl who really likes me, and exhausted all the, like, those are not strategies that would have worked for me at 16, just because your life as a 16-year-old is insane. Your mind is insane. Like, you don't have control over anything. So again, I think it's very tough for people to remember how difficult it is, specifically for young men like what we're talking about. Like, they just short circuit. Yes, it's all over.
There's the fish hook, right?
Right.
You've told your kids about the fish hook.
Right.
But when that fish hook shows up, everything in that boy's brain is going to say,
this sounds great.
I need that.
This sounds great.
And I mean, I've had kids that I've told other stories about their fellow classmates doing the same thing. And they still fall for it, right? Because you just can't think straight. And I've had full-grown adults fall for the same thing. They just cannot think straight. This is what parents don't understand. They can't fathom that their kid is going to be sexually aroused by somebody online and basically taken advantage of.
So we've been talking a lot, and again, you made a point. This is boys and girls, right?
Yes.
Young and old, okay? But we've primarily kind of been chatting about the teen boys. Those types of suicide things hit the news very frequently, and it's one of those things where, like, this can't be happening. But a different friend of mine was telling me recently that her daughter has a 14-year-old friend, little Mormon girl, super nice, and my friend's daughter knows this girl sends nude photos of herself all the time. And it was something that I heard at one of the presentations you made, that I think you said something like 60% of girls, or 50 to 60% of girls by the age of 14 have sent nude photos of themselves, and like 80% by the age of 16. I'm botching those numbers. What are the actual numbers?
Those are just, I'd say by 8th grade it's about 50%. By 11th grade it's about 70 to 80%.
And it's not like this is. I think a lot of people look towards girls as being more mature and more intelligent and more thoughtful and more protective of themselves, which they should be, right? So how do we get to that point, especially with people that have good households with wonderful upbringings, religious orientations? How do we get there? I understand how the boys get there. I happen to be a boy, and I'm sure I would have been an idiot when I was 16 if I had a cell phone too. How do the girls get there when, from a young age, we're telling girls to protect themselves?
Okay, so the hook with the kids is the pornography, right? The naked things.
With the boys.
Boys are just wired, so it's an easy hook.
Sure.
Okay, so with girls, there's several easy hooks as well. The predators use against them their wanting to be more mature, just like you just said. Hey, girls are more mature. Well, girls are raised wanting to be more mature. They want to feel like they're older. So now you say, incoming freshman class. Somebody copies a Instagram of the high school football player. Just exact, and then starts talking to this girl. So now this girl thinks she's talking to an older boy. At some point, that boy's going to say, send me nudes. And the girl's going to say, no, I don't do that. And then the boy is going to say, hey, well, I thought you were more mature than that. Look me up in a couple years. Right? And so then we start equating maturity with sending nudes, and it very quickly works against them. The other thing that works against them is the minute they get a phone and they start scrolling on anything, they are going to be sexualized, right? If I scroll down Facebook, how much cleavage, butt crack, thong shots are there? Versus the boys, how many is there for them? I don't see penises or, things with dudes. Right. It's women. So it has become very normal for this to happen, right? And so then girls aren't seeing it as them protecting themselves by not. They're seeing themselves as being more mature by sending out these nudes. And especially with OnlyFans and TikTok, they're seeing all kinds of women who are moms, who are 30s and 40s, who are making flashing their breasts in videos and making money from it. Right? So now we've normalized it for them. Everything they've seen from the moment they have a phone is grooming them to be worth their body parts. So now they're in an environment now where somebody has said, hey, I'm interested in you. That person portrays themselves as more mature, maybe a little older. And now we start the sextortion just like we do with the boys. So the hook is there. Super easy. Now, some girls, you don't even have to work at it because they are worth their body parts. And for any kind of acceptance, which kids want acceptance, no matter who you are, you want acceptance. If you're a little chubbier side girl or you're a little stranger side girl, you want to feel normal, everybody's going to want your naked pictures no matter what. They're going to give you praise. They're going to give you acceptance. Right? So it's not about protecting yourself. It's about acceptance or wanting to feel more mature. Right? And the predators know this, so that's how they work on them. The Lululemon scam, right? That is, they contact a girl with a bunch of Instagram friends, and this has nothing to do with Lululemon. However, I call it that because they use an actual Lululemon contract to do this.
Gotcha. Okay.
They contact a girl, hey, you have awesome amount of Instagram followers. We need some more ambassadors for Lululemon. We'll pay you. We'll get you this much. You'll get paid. You'll have so many more followers. We'll send you free Lululemon clothing. And it can be any brand. Meet us for an interview. We have our fashion designer. We have our this. You'll have to wear a bikini because we need to know exact measurements. So they show up to the interview. Some kids show up with their parent to the interview. Well, sooner or later, the person says, hey, we need to see your breast shape so that we can send you the right. And bam, now we're in the sextortion.
God. So even if the parents go, there are people there. They're like, hey, nice to meet you, parent. And yeah, I'm with Chris with Lululemon or whatever.
Yes.
And so they do the bikini thing and the parents are there. It's like, okay, awesome. I think this is going to be a great partnership. They leave the interview and eventually, or maybe even at the interview with the parent, but eventually they've developed a rapport and some level of validity because of the conversation. They're like, I'm going to need you to remove that real fast. Just a real fact. Cause I gotta, and then I'll get you the things and they do it.
Yeah. Cause how many moms are sucked into this same thing?
I don't know is this a thing with moms?
No. How many moms are sucked into putting your image out to wanting acceptance, to wanting likes, to wanting shares, to wanting to have, and there's a lot of moms who live through their daughters.
Yeah.
Right. And we call them cheerleader moms, right? Or dance moms. They live through their daughters and they're doing this kind of as a second hurrah. They're wanting the same things, right? I mean, I'm sure if the person asked the mom, hey mom, let's see, moms would be all in.
Wow.
Right. And so this happens with moms there, with moms not there. And they've seen the contracts. How hard is it to grab a Lululemon logo and put it on a contract? Not hard at all, right?
Right.
And so then, again, we are preying on kids yearning for different things. With boys, it's pornography. With girls, it's the need to be more mature. It's the need for acceptance. It's the need for fame, and sometimes the need for money.
Right.
Right. In my homeless kids, they need money. They're going to sell their naked pictures. And since they've been watching this on TikTok since they were 6, that women are selling their pictures for money, how big a deal is it when they get asked to sell their picture for money? It's not. They've been groomed over years to see that that's okay. How many TV shows can you watch without cleavage, without sexual stuff?
Right. Okay. So that's how the boys get there. That's how the girls get there. Where are they getting here? Because Facebook, I assume, first off, teenagers aren't hanging out on Facebook, right? So so if somebody's like, oh, my kid has Facebook, this is not the risk we're talking about. Instagram, you're indicating that it's far easier to track down people. So it seems that Snapchat, and I've heard you say this before, Snapchat is predator friendly. And every teen I know has Snapchat, which is horrifying. When I was still in SAT prep, they were like, Matt, you need to get Snapchat. I was like, go fuck yourself. I'm not getting Snapchat. They're like, no, but we could talk to you. I'm like, you can talk to me right here. You don't need to you already have my cell phone number. That's enough communication. And I don't know. But, again, good kids, they were well-intentioned. They just wanted to, connect on their platform. I'm like, I'm not Snapchatting with you guys. But again, Snapchat seems to be the one where people get most in trouble because they have disappearing images, right? And again, you need to explain this all to me because I've never messed around with this app. I've heard you talk about it, and it's horrifying. You have disappearing images. You have images that are your eyes only and essentially a vault that require a password. You have talk to me why about Snapchat, the functions of it that make it predator friendly, and how kids are in particular taking advantage here.
Okay, so Snapchat initially was made to kind of hide things from parents. So when I send you a message, as you know, my friend, when you read it, it disappears from the platform, right? So if a parent were to grab a phone, all of a sudden it's already gone. If you do this on Facebook, on Instagram, in fact, Instagram has disappearing messages as well, but old school Instagram, you would have to go through and manually delete everything.
Right. Same things with text. You can delete text messages. Yep. You just have to manually go through it. Right.
So Snapchat made it automatic. As soon as the person read it, bam, it's gone. You read it, it's gone. Now, if I were to save a message or screenshot something, it tells me that whoever sent it to me that you screenshotted it.
Oh no!
Right, and
that's dirty.
And so then people thought, oh well, I'll know if he screenshots it because it'll tell me. So they'll send nude photos. But an easy way around that is just to take a picture of the picture.
Say a picture of the phone.
But kids don't do that. There's third-party apps that will save the pictures without telling the person that. Okay, but that's not the bigger thing. Is you have the disappearing messages. But what happened after a while is Snapchat actually started deleting the messages back and forth from their servers. Because law enforcement, until then, if I had a victim, hey, I've been sex-tortioned, I go to Snapchat with a subpoena from a judge gives me their conversation, now I have evidence, I'm going after the person. Well, Snapchat, to get around that, started deleting it off their servers. So messages between two people get deleted, so they're not anywhere. So when I subpoena Snapchat, they tell me, oh, well, we don't have them, and they legitimately don't have them.
So when you say predator friendly, like it's not in Snapchat's best interest under any normal usage to fully delete. I mean, like if we're talking like international relations and you have to like delete, it was like just clandestine stuff. Like, okay, yeah, I could see a purpose for deleting off of a server, but like under normal operations with a social media platform, especially one that runs the risk of having some kind of damaging conversation that leads to law enforcement subpoenaing those things. Under normal operations, you're like, oh, no. Here, go get the predators. Here it is. Like right here. This is the guy, or the gal, whoever, this is the team. This is all the information we have. Go get them. Clean my platform up. Thank you. But what you're saying Snapchat does is instead of saying, thanks for cleaning it up, it's like, hey guys, don't worry. I'll delete everything. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yes.
And, God.
Right. That affects their bottom line if they get rid of those. Same thing with if they put in a real age restriction, it would get rid of a ton of users. Right. Everybody 13 and under or under the age of 13 would not be on their platform anymore. So they don't put other than, hey, tell us your birthday. Oh, well, there's our age verification. They have to tell us their birthday. Really?
And Snapchat is primarily sending back, when you say messages, those are primarily like images that they send back and forth. Because I'd watch students in class, they'd like take an image of the book and then type something in and then fire that off. So it's like an image of a textbook and then like, yes, I'll be there in 5 minutes.
Snapchat has what's called streaks and a snap score.
This is so complex. Okay, keep going.
Okay, so if I'm messaging with you, text messages do not count towards my snap score. If I send you a picture message, it counts 1 on my snap score. Well, kids are not happy until they have 500,000 snap score.
So they've exchanged 500,000 photos.
Yes, and that's on the low end.
And these are disappearing photos.
These are disappearing photos back and forth. And usually it's just garbage, right? Just
take a picture of a book, your shoe, whatever, and then they write something on it.
But you also have what's called streaks to kind of addict them more. You and I have been sending streaks back and forth for 3 years, and it shows, hey, you're on my top friends list.
What's a streak?
Means I've sent you a picture every day, and you've sent me one back every day. So how many days
we've continually exchanged some kind of photo?
Yes. And so they have these streaks, and I mean, kids will have 100 streaks going, and some of them are 3 years, some of them are 60 days, but they have these streaks. I mean, I was taking a young lady to juvenile detention, and she says, Officer Gomez, can you give somebody my username and password because I don't want to lose my streaks? So that was what she was worried about going to juvenile detention.
Oh, my God.
Right? Where adults, it's smoking. They always want me to stop and give them their last smoke.
Oh, my God. I shouldn't laugh. That's not.
This girl wanted me to pass on her streaks, but that's the addictive part.
So they're like, look, we don't even care about the messages. We're going to upregulate sending photos, and we're going to upregulate the cadence of the photos and frequency of photos so that we make sure you're sending something every single day. Like, this better be attached to your hand.
Yes. Right. And Be Real ups that in that says, hey, look, we're going to give you a random time of day. We want you to send a picture to each other.
Be Real's a different app, correct?
A different app. But back to Snapchat,
Sure.
It deletes those completely. So when I have a subpoena from a judge, hey, we'll give you everything just like the judge said. Here you go. And they do give me an IP address. They do give me any kind of number or email address that was used to sign up. They give me group messages. That's it. Right? So then, unless the victim got their own evidence, I have zero evidence.
Now, say I'm a young girl and I get duped into sending an inappropriate photo of myself. If it goes away, and what happens? Like, how do I have evidence that I sent it, say, to you, the perpetrator? Do I have any evidence that I...
You do not have any evidence that you sent it. So, but what happens is sometimes when kids get scared, they do know how to take pictures with another device. They'll use their iPad. Because kids have been doing this for a while. So they'll start documenting on their own, or in order to scare the person, they'll take a screenshot just so that it lets them know they're taking screenshots, because they try and scare the person into
away or something.
Yeah, whatever. So they will get their own evidence. And probably half the time I get the kids that at some point they realize this is going down and I better have something to say what's happening in case the person does share their photos. They have somebody to go after.
Okay. So Snapchat, bottom line, upregulates the feedback for sending photos, upregulates feedback for sending daily photos, absolutely deletes photos that you sent. So you don't know what you sent, or you don't have proof that you sent unless you took additional steps. And the person on the other end, you have no idea what they're doing with. They could have a third-party app running, collecting every image you send their way. And man, it's just so dark. I had a thing, and it was like just outlining the issues with Snapchat. It's like, why anybody would let their kid have Snapchat boggles the mind. Like,
and peer pressure for parents, right? I mean, peer
Sure.
pressure. The struggle is real. I said, look, you're going to be peer pressured starting in 5th grade. Your kid is going to say they're the only ones without Snapchat, and they're going to be right.
Man, my kids don't have Snapchat. They're
Right.
the only ones.
And so I always tell parents, hey, look, that conversation comes up a lot. 5th and 6th graders. My kid says they're the only one that doesn't have it. And I say, okay, look, let's go by the numbers. In every 10 kids in any classroom, 5th and 6th grade, not even upper grades, 4 of those kids are going to be on the luck survival parenting plan, where the parents have no plan, they're just surviving, and Snapchat is my co-parent.
Right.
3 of the kids are going to have parents that think that their family values are stronger than Snapchat. 2 of the kids, their parents are going to forbid Snapchat, and the kids are going to have it anyways. One kid out of the 10 is not going to have Snapchat.
Okay. Now, if I don't, like, my kids don't have cell phones, but that doesn't mean that they can't have Snapchat accounts, right?
Correct.
Okay. So
Correct.
Because this is the thing. I'm like, oh, forget it. I'll square this one away. You don't even get a phone. And my kids aren't arguing with me for phones, right? But they have school administered laptops. So is it possible for like a 4th, a 5th, a 6th grader with a school administered laptop to set up a Snapchat account or go on to Snapchat and start messing around?
Yes, and they do. Or they use their burner phone that their friend has, their extra phone, and they set up a Snapchat.
Oh, because you can have a burner phone and just put it into Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to have a plan. They just have the old phone.
The old phone, the old iPad, the old anything. But imagine, as parents, we are peer pressured because our 5th grader is the only one without a cell phone. Imagine how the 5th grader feels. It's 100 times more, right? I'm the only one in this whole dang school without Snapchat.
Listen,
So-
listen. I've felt like a loser most of my life, not unjustifiably. Like this is a lesson that my kids, like, you don't feel great about yourself. That's fine, but you're going to have to reduce the number of reasons you don't feel good about yourself, right? And not having some ridiculous app can't be one of them, because there's always going to be another app. Like, man, that's so rough. So when you're helping, so you were saying 1 out of 10 kids genuinely doesn't have Snapchat. By the way, I'm checking all the laptops tonight because my kids they don't have phones. We took away their iPads about 4 months ago. That was crazy. So they don't have iPads. They only get to play certain video games on, like an Xbox that we paid $50, $50 for the game. So there are no ads in it on the weekends. We've really reined back on all this stuff. The last point of entry then theoretically would be the school laptops. Is there a way, are there applications or things that they can get on the school laptop to prevent you from knowing that Snapchat is on it? Or is it like Instagram and they just log on to it on the internet?
Exactly like Instagram. They log onto it on the internet.
Okay. And what about the barriers to Snapchat on the school computers? Because they're not supposed to be allowed to get on Snapchat, right?
They're not supposed to be allowed, but they do. And there's 1,000 ways for them to get on Snapchat.
Okay. Just tell me one then. Like with the barriers in place, how is it that they get on Snapchat?
So one of the ways they go, there's a math program they can go on. It's like an algebra program that isn't blocked by the school.
Okay.
They go into the algebra store, and then from the algebra store, they have a backdoor web browser.
Oh my God. Can you tell me what the app is? Or do you want to like out anyone?
I don't know what the app is, but if you type...
Okay, but that makes perfect sense.
Yep.
It doesn't even matter what it is.
Or if you type in go.gg, right? You go.gg is a platform just to get you in backdoor stuff. VPNs get you in backdoor stuff. Hotspots get you in backdoor stuff without having anything going on. Kids will use a guest account on their school laptops, right? So they'll log out and then they'll say, "Hey, I'm going to go in on the guest account." Now we usually block those things, but you got to be on top of things. You can also start computers in safe mode depending on which computer and which.
Oh my God, this all makes perfect sense.
Right on Google, not to get to Snapchat, but to get to YouTube videos. On Google Maps, if you type in Milk Island and go to Milk Island, under the reviews there, they have tons of YouTube videos, right? Just for whatever. Milk Island, kind of the funny story about it. It's funny for just 3 seconds until you know what the real reason. Milk Island is where all the dads who left their families go. Right?
Okay, I heard somebody say something about Milk Island and I missed it. This is in the App Store, and is this like a Bumble or wait?
No.
Okay.
Nope. So the story, dads who go to the store to get milk and never come back.
Okay.
Moms say, "Hey, they went to go get milk. They never came back." So then the kids make it up the story. They went to Milk Island.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So that's where the name comes from. So what is it actually?
But based on that, if you bring up Google Maps, right, which every school is going to allow Google Maps because it's part of education.
Sure.
You type in Milk Island. I think it's somewhere. It's like Rockport, somewhere.
Wherever.
If you click on the little red dot there, in the reviews to Milk Island, you'll see a bunch of kids. "Hey, I found my dad here." It's kind of, some of them are funny, but then they have a whole bunch of YouTube videos on there that kids can watch, and some of them are highly inappropriate. Right, but the YouTube blocks aren't going to stop that. That's the reviews in the Google, in the maps.
Right.
Now Google will reset that and take them back to zero every couple of weeks, but
yeah, 2 seconds later, there's some pervy dude.
There's some pervy dude wanting to groom kids and put stuff up there. So many ways for them to get around all the controls we have.
Old dog, new trick. That's a difficult thing. And I mean, obviously young kids with technology learn things super fast, but just to show you the power of something like this, as you were mentioning this, I had a friend who's super bright. He's PhD mechanical engineering from Georgia. We went to undergrad together, and one of his first jobs out of undergrad was working for this smaller power station efficiency. So they'd go in and they'd put in different converters into Del Monte canning plants and things like that, so they didn't waste a bunch of energy and whatnot. Well, the problem is the new tech was really new tech, right? They're using tablets and everything. And you got these old salty, like steam plant, Del Monte workers are like, "I'm not learning any of this trash. Like, get this guy." And he's German, so he's got this German accent. So he's like in Modesto, California, trying to talk to these like Del Monte canning guys. And they're like, "Get the fuck out of here," right? So his boss, very intelligently, he's like, "No, Marcel," my buddy's Marcel. He's like, "No, Marcel, listen, this is really easy." He's like, "How is this easy? I don't understand." He's like, "Look, this is all you do." He's like, "We put porn into the tablets." He's like, "What?" So it's this whole big command tree system to control these power plants and the efficiencies and all this different stuff. He's like, you hide disappearing nude screenshots within the different branches of the trees. So the guys, these are like 50-year-old random steam plant workers learn how to navigate the command tree on the tablets. He's like, within a week, they know how to get absolutely everywhere. Because one guy finds it by accident. Then he's like, oh, bro, check this. You got to go here. And he's like, whoa. Where do I go? He's like, look, hit system settings and then scroll all the way down to display. And then you go over to the text size on the display, hit that, and it's going to be Clara. And he's like, and all of a sudden, he's like, he knows exactly where system settings, display, text size, and then they know how to find Clara. And Clara, of course, disappears. So they have to like go back. These are old dudes working at a steam plant. Imagine how fast like the 14-year-old who understands tech and is like, oh my God, I can find this inappropriate YouTube video, or I can find this, or I can find that. So wild.
Yeah, because they have a network of people, right? And even I've had 6-year-olds get past parental controls on their phones, right? How many people have face recognition on their parent phone? A lot.
Right.
So a kid just comes up to a parent. This was a 6-year-old. Hey, Dad, you left this on the washing machine. I'm going to put it over here on the counter. And he's into your phone and setting up his own security now.
My God, my 9-year-old tried to do that to me the other day. He's like, hey, Dad, look over here. I was like, get the hell out of here. But a 6-year-old?
Right? Like 3rd and 4th graders, they know to set the screen record on the phone. Hey, Mom, will you enter the password so I can download this math program? And now they're screen recording so they know where Mom put the password at.
Oh, my God.
They know how to change the time zone. So when the parents set the clock, the phone to go off at 9 p.m., kid just puts time zone back a couple hours and a couple more hours and a couple more hours. And now they've stayed up all night. Right? They know they can hotspot through Mom's phone that's on her nightstand. They set up a hotspot, and now they have no restrictions to go through on their Wi-Fi device that they got from their buddy at school.
God, man.
Right? So there's 1,000 ways for them to get by this. Family activities, talking to your kids, going over this over and over and over again. Even doing that, they're very susceptible. In the sextortion world, that is very easy for predators to get. So that's why I say 100% of kids are going to get hit on this. Many of them are going to fall for it. Many, boys and girls. What they do after they get that is huge, right? I mean, if they try and solve it themselves, then things become much uglier because now they're going to fall for demands. If they delete everything and pretend like it never happened, and hopefully it'll go away, a lot of times they're right because these guys are after money. And they've got 1,000 people giving them money. One person not giving them money is like, don't want that one, let's go to the next one. The kids don't know this, right? All they do is their whole world came crashing down. They think that they're the only person that predator cares about. Now, secondly is, how many kids are going to tell their parents that? Not many. Same thing with how many kids are going to tell their parents they're drinking or ask for a ride home when everybody's drunk. Some will, right? Some will, but you have to set that up way ahead of time. It has to be something that is ingrained in your family. Going to police is always a great option. People always worry their kids are going to get in trouble for sending out nudes of themselves. And I said, look, around here, and in fact, in the code, it says if you're coerced, it's not you're a victim. You're not a suspect. On top of that, police, we try and give kids every chance we can, right? SROs especially, but even police in general try and give kids every chance we can. But police can make it stop. We can't always prosecute, but we can usually make it stop. I can send a letter to Snapchat and they'll freeze the account right away. No matter what, no question, they will always freeze the account. That they're good at. They're not going to give me evidence, but they are good at freezing accounts.
So bottom line is, and every time I hear you speak at a presentation or speak with you personally, it's one of those things where I just leave like shaking my head. It's not a happy conversation I'm going to have with my boys. And again, I have 3 boys. It's not a happy conversation, but it's a conversation I need to have. Absolutely. Because the alternative is just hoping things work out. And, I already knew that wasn't a good strategy. But hearing you talk about this is like, it's not a good strategy that has the worst possible potential end result, which is, you see boys taking their lives.
Death, right.
It's terrible.
And you see kids getting into sex trafficking, right? You get one girl who sends out a nude of herself to a boyfriend and it gets shared. That gets into the wrong hands. Now we're in sex trafficking. Or you get a local person can get a girl into sex trafficking by just getting one nude photo of her. Now she's in sex trafficking. If she doesn't tell parents, she doesn't tell police, right? I mean, I talked to a girl at a local school here, a local high school. For 2 years, she was basically a sex slave to like a 24-year-old guy because she'd sent out a nude photo and her family was very churchy and she just too embarrassed to tell anybody. So she did everything this guy asked, including having sex with his friends.
Oh God.
Right.
That you brought up locality. That's the other thing Snapchat does, right? It tells you where people are.
It does. You can turn that off, but most kids, Friday nights, they want their friends to know where they're at. So they turn on the mapping and it's good within about 10 feet of where you're at.
Right. So quite literally, it has a map and then it has little icons with like the picture of everyone. You know exactly where the people are. So it's like how these people found you. It's like it could be plain as day. Like we could probably get the app right now, upload a couple people, and boom, we know where the kids are.
Absolutely. Now, if somebody nefarious gets your nude photo or video, they know where you work, they know where you go to school, they know what sports you play, they know what bedroom you sleep in, they know everything about you.
God, that's terrible. Officer Gomez, we've done it again. We ran over time. I know your day is precious here. Thank you for taking the time off on your day off to come in and talk about this. Is there anything we've kind of missed or you want to hit from the sex-tortion standpoint? Again, we have a lot of different topics that I hope we can continue hitting on, but from a sex-tortion aspect, is there anything we've missed today?
Just as parents are training their kids, talk to them about, hey, the bigger mistake you make, the better friend are parents and police and school people, right? Hey, you've made a big mistake. Use their wisdom to help get you out. Eat the consequence, right? There's consequences to everything you do. But let kids know you're on their team, right? That's, as a parent, one of the most important things. You're on their team. Any discipline you do, you're doing to help them and for them. And any consequences, just like when I write a kid a vape ticket, usually that's a door for me to get to know that kid now. It's like, hey, how's it going with vaping? Where are we at? Right? How's your family? Let's go on a walk. What can I do to help you? Don't let me bust you again, but here I am to help you again and again and again. I'm going to be on your team.
That's beautiful. Well, without sounding cheesy, thanks for being on all of our teams. Appreciate you. Until next time.
All right. Sounds good.
This podcast is brought to you by MTU Studios. If you're looking to start a podcast or need content for your business or personal use, content of any type, please reach out to MTU Studios. MTUstudios.com. We'd love to help.